This is a Crypto Legends podcast.
Current crises in the cryptocurrency ecosystem have added further coal to the fire, calling for prudent regulation and proper industry standards. This, of course, has the potential to be incredibly positive. However, that requires transparent and active engagement between all stakeholders from either side of this aisle. CryptoUK is leading the charge as a non-profit trade body representing the digital asset sector in the UK. With us today is Su Carpenter, who has been Director of Operations since June of last year. Su has more than 25 years in banking and fintech, making her the perfect representative to discuss improving the ecosystem. All right, Su, it's a privilege and a real pleasure to have you with us today. We're super excited, and I'm super excited to start. Thank you so much for coming.
Not a problem at all, Paula. It's a pleasure to do it. I'm absolutely honoured to be invited to be a part of the Crypto Legends series.
And thank you so much for that. And if you don't mind, I would like to dig a little bit into your professional background. First question is actually quite straightforward, but for me, it's very important. So when most people think about starting a crypto organization, it probably doesn't even cross their mind that it wouldn't be for a for-profit organization, right? So the first question is very simple from my side. Why CryptoUK?
I think from my perspective, it's a really interesting proposition. Obviously, I've had a lot of experience working in traditional finance, in marketing for challenger banks, startup organisations. And I think finding out about CryptoUK and the work that they're doing was just quite a unique proposition. I think, as you say, a lot of people get into crypto because they see it as a way to make money. There's opportunities here to be able to get rich quick. But actually, there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done to support the sector and to help encourage the sector to grow. I mean, from my perspective, again, as well, I met the guys at CryptoUK, and there is absolutely no way that I could not have started working here. If you've ever spoken to any of the team or any of the people that I work with, they're hugely passionate, so dedicated and so committed to actually really trying to change the way that the crypto sector is perceived and to really strive for good. I mean, the energy, the enthusiasm, the work that goes on behind the scenes for such a small team is absolutely unbelievable. And for me, it was an absolute no-brainer. You know, I had to come and work for these guys. The energy is just contagious.
That's so excited to hear from you. It's really nice to hear that, actually. And we also know that you have more than 25 years of experience in banking and fintech, primarily focused on marketing, and first dabble in the world of crypto, I think, back in 2018, right? So then in June 2021, you became the Director of Operations for CryptoUK. So can you start, I know you just talk about like how amazing they sound, but can you tell us a little bit the story behind your decision and then how people approach you for that as well?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've dipped in and out of the world of fintech, crypto, Web3 for the last few years while I've been doing some contract and consulting work. And I've seen the good, the bad, and let's be honest, the ugly within this space as well. I think for me, my background coming more from TradFi has seen an environment where regulation is obviously key, and it's, whilst quite restrictive at times, it does offer some clear guidance on how to operate, and it makes sure that everything that you do is very much consumer focused and consumer led, and that's at the heart of an organisation. The time that I've spent looking at the crypto world, I've seen some amazing organisations working here who have got such strong compliance-led operating models. It just seems to me that actually there's a lot of work that could be done to showcase the really good companies that are working here, but also to really strive to put in place an environment where there's a good support framework and the goalposts can't keep getting moved. You know, there's a real opportunity here for the crypto industry to be perceived as really strong players in this place, using their compliance skills, the expertise and the knowledge that they have. And I just looked at this role and thought, there's a real challenge here, and I love a challenge.
That's amazing. And actually, it's a very good bridge for my next question, actually, because we're talking about like the improvements and also the compliance challenges and everything. So like CryptoUK was founded back in 2018. Like it's only 4 years, but it feels like a million years for like our crypto years, right? So like from your experience, can you tell us a little bit the improvements that you have seen, and also what was like Crypto UK role and your role on these improvements as well?
Absolutely. So I've been with the organisation nearly 2 years now. And even in that time, I've seen a real positive shift in the approach from the government and regulators. Just more in there wanting to understand the sector and not just dismissing crypto outright as a tool for criminals and fraudsters, which was definitely, I think, the rhetoric we were hearing when I first joined. And that was, less than 2 years ago. For me, that's a really positive thing. It means that people are actually being more open-minded and really trying to get to grips with what the industry is doing and understand the sector. I think what I've seen at CryptoUK is the member community has grown significantly. And I think the work that I've been doing has helped both promote the association, but allow us to reach out more with credibility to prospective members, policymakers. We've gone really from fighting to have our voice heard in the media and the community to being considered a go-to voice for the industry. And I feel like we're offering a really strong, independent, and most importantly, non-commercial opinion and advice to a wider audience. We're not doing this to promote a product or service or platform. We're doing this for the good of the industry. So it's been really positive for us that actually the trade association as a body is being seen as a credible source and being reputable with the policymakers and within government has been a real key achievement for us, I think, in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. And I think having this unique voice towards the regulators is very important for the crypto world, right? Because then we make sure that we all align on our understanding. We all share our challenges and we go after that and we make sure that we are like trying to get what we want, right?
Most of the time, definitely.
Exactly. And what do you think have been like the most important first steps for Crypto UK and its members?
For me, I would say, without a doubt, it's the growing community of members. And we can't exist as a trade association without our members. They're invaluable in supporting the work of the association, and they trust us to represent their interests, both within government and with the regulators and within the broader community as well. In addition, I would say one of the key things we've also managed to achieve is the establishment of the all-party parliamentary group for crypto and digital assets. And that's really given us some good inroads now into being able to positively influence and educate MPs and Lords. And that means that we can offer a more balanced and informed voice in government. So where we have debates and conversations happening within government and hearings that are taking place for the likes of the Treasury Select Committee, we have the opportunity to act as advocates and provide information about the opportunities that the sector can bring to the UK economy. And it's allowed us to really have that inroad into the UK government and give them the opportunities to learn. It's okay for them to say to us they don't understand, because we can be that independent voice that will give them the information and the advice that they need. So I think our members have allowed us to do that. Our members have massively supported that. And we've done a huge amount of work as well with media engagement. We're doing a lot of activity in terms of getting the work of the association that happens at this time out to a much broader audience. So contact through mainstream titles and commentary instead of just through the trade press and the more specific titles that maybe people within the sector are reading. So just spreading the word really and helping people understand what's happening within the industry.
Amazing, amazing. I think we discussed that before. And your first point is basically Crypto UK being the safe place for crypto companies, crypto organizations to be there, share their challenges and having this voice together. Absolutely. Amazing. Very, very interesting to know more about you, your background and your decision to join Crypto UK. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So moving on to the, present circumstances. Crypto UK currently has more than 155 members. More than 12 consultation responses and 15 working groups. Wow, that's amazing. So how would you characterize the developments? It's amazing. And very, very nice to hear. And how would you characterize the developments of members and Crypto UK in contrast to organizations that decide, let's say, to go alone?
Yeah, and it's a really good question. I mean, obviously, as a trade association, our role is to support our members and to ensure that we're advocating for them as a consolidated voice that represents the whole industry. When our members join Crypto UK, they sign up to a voluntary code of conduct and a code of practice. And basically, that means that they will commit to ensure that they will work in an ethical and consumer-led way. And all of that helps to obviously improve the external view of the industry as a whole and the reputation of the sector. The one thing I will say is that we never force our opinions on our members, and we will not prevent any members or organisations that work with CryptoUK from doing their own lobbying or responses to consultations. Obviously, a lot of organisations choose not to join the trade association, and that's absolutely fine, because as long as we're all saying the same thing to the right people at the right time, then it still helps to consolidate the opinions and the voice of the sector as a whole. But for us, obviously, we believe that the power of many is the best way to help influence change. So the more members we can represent and the more voices we can bring into that community, the more opportunities we have to really give a broad spectrum of advice and information to the people in charge.
And more alignment you would have as well, right? In the market, yeah. Very nice. And about the consultation responses, what are let's say the most important consultation responses you guys have submitted? And have you started seeing any fruit from this consultation responses?
Yes, I mean, obviously all of the consultations that we respond to, we feel have a level of importance. But we do acknowledge that some of them are going to have a greater impact on the way that our members operate and can continue to do business. I think if I look back over the last 12 months, maybe the most controversial and potentially damaging consultation that we've worked on was the HMT financial promotions consultation that came out. And I think particularly for us, we saw a lot of our members coming to talk to us and saying that they'd been so negatively impacted by rulings that had been coming out from the ASA and restrictions and recourses that had been placed on them. It's a really difficult environment to work in when you don't understand what the guidance and the frameworks are that you're working within. And we were seeing people lose significant amounts of money in terms of marketing campaigns, promotional activity that they'd been putting together and pushing out to the market that were then being pulled within 2 or 3 days when they should have been running for weeks or months. And it's also obviously limited quite severely their ability to operate competitively within the marketplace as well. I will say, obviously, there's been more guidance that's coming out around financial promotions. We expect to see more rulings, but we continue with this one, I think, to really push to make sure that people understand how potentially damaging this can be. The FCA did put a press release out yesterday talking about approvers within financial promotions, and we'll be responding to that, and we'll obviously be hoping to have some kind of dialogue with HMT and with the FCA around how this can actually be implemented and getting them to really understand what the knock-on impacts will be. So for me, I'd say that's probably been one of the more critical ones. But again, there's been a lot of work happening this year as well.
And it's so exciting to see your work in practice, right? When you start to see that what you're doing, you're putting your effort on, is really making a lot of things out of this. So it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, it's always good when you feel that you're doing something that's making a change.
Exactly.
And it's very small steps, but we're getting there.
Yeah, but every small step counts, right? And that's what
all moving in the right direction.
Absolutely, exactly. And about the different working groups, myself, I'm part of 2 of these working groups, and I'm very excited with the discussions. Only expert there. Is really, really nice to hear their voices. But can you tell us about the different roles of these working groups and some developments that excites you?
Yeah, and again, we've got a number of working groups that are in play at the moment. So probably the most established one we have is our tax working group. They've been running for around 6 months now, and there's a number of subgroups that work there as well. And they've been doing some excellent work. They work really closely with HMRC and help to inform and offer guidance on the consultations and calls for evidence that come out as well. They've been really proactive in terms of engaging with the regulators, but not just challenging the things that are coming out from the consultations, but actually really being proactive to offer some alternative solutions in place of current guidance that's actually there. So obviously that group's been established a while. They've been running quite independently now, I would say, alongside CryptoUK, but also sort of within the groups of members themselves, forming small discussion groups to take work forward. We've recently launched an insurance working group. They're in the process at the moment of devising a white paper that will have some recommendations on how to best offer solutions for brokers and crypto organisations to help basically mitigate the risks that organisations are facing, but also for the brokers themselves to look at how they can provide some clarity on how to risk weight policies for the sector. So again, we're hoping there'll be some really interesting recommendations and insight that comes from that. And again, they've recently established, probably in the last 2 months, I think that group was set up. But again, a really active group of members. And I think the last thing you touched upon as well there, Paula, obviously we've got the regulation working groups. Very early stages still, but the plan is that they'll be looking at a number of issues, whether they be live consultation responses or anything that comes out from the regulators. And again, looking at a number of different areas from operational implementation to awareness and education as well. So there's quite a diverse range of working groups that are taking place, but the one thing they all have in common is that, we have really passionate groups of members like yourselves who are really keen to kind of influence and push for change and are willing to give up their time to be able to support these working groups and the outputs from them as well.
Absolutely. And it's really nice to see how many people want to be involved in this, right? And the second thing that I think is fascinating as well is that the group don't want to be only reactive. We want to be proactive. We want to put ourselves out there and making sure that we are always one step ahead, which is also very interesting.
Absolutely. And we see that from a lot of our members. The people that want to join the trade association are the ones that want to be incredibly proactive most of the time. They want to be able to influence, but it's really hard when you have a full-time job to be able to find this. It just means an hour a week or an hour a month to actually be able to contribute. Then you tend to find people value that greatly.
Exactly. And it's also part of our jobs in any way, right? So it's like, I see this as one thing.
Definitely. And it's part of your job with a much broader team. You suddenly have another 15 experts that can help in terms of making those decisions and pushing things forward too.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that. And I think that CryptoUK has a unique opportunity to be based in the UK, which is calling themselves a crypto hub internationally. So in your opinion, what positive steps have the government done or take? And what does being a cryptocurrency hub looks like in the UK?
Yeah, let's not shy away from the fact it's been a really turbulent 12 months here in the UK. The government's done a lot of changes. We've obviously had a lot of challenges in terms of making sure that the people we're engaging with are the right people. And after many changes, reshuffles and people changing positions, it's been difficult for us to stay on top of that. But obviously we do a lot of work continually reaching out to people in the posts that we think can make the right decisions and influence policy as well. I think we are starting to see crypto being much more openly and honestly and objectively discussed within Parliament. And I think that's really critical for us. I think, as we said earlier, you think back kind of 12 months, then the only debate that would happen around crypto is it's bad. It's for criminals, it's for fraud, it's for scams. But actually, people are now starting to understand that there are real opportunities here within the sector. And the best way to be able to understand and fulfill those opportunities is to have some really open dialogue. And I think a lot of the reason that hadn't been happening before was awareness and understanding. And people are very easy to dismiss and shut down things that they don't understand and they don't get. But we've seen with the APPG, particularly, the members of that group are really open to learn. And they want to learn from ourselves, they want to learn from our members and from the industry. And the more informed these people are within government, the more they can have open conversations, honest conversations, and conversations that can really help to kind of shift the political landscape for us. And I think that's been a really critical thing. We've seen, obviously, the Treasury Select Committee inquiry that's come out around crypto and digital assets this year. There's been some great sessions with some of our members, so Ripple and Binance and Galaxy alongside CryptoUK, when we were invited in to give evidence for the Treasury Select Committee. And again, that's showing an openness to actually have the dialogue, not just with the regulators, but also with the industry and the sector itself. And there's been a lot of activity, obviously, through the APPG in terms of the inquiry that's taking place there as well. So I think we've heard crypto vocalised a lot more within government than we ever have done in the past. And whilst it's still not necessarily getting us to exactly where we want to be, back to that earlier point, it's shifting the dial, it's moving the conversation, and it's making people openly discuss this in a much more positive way.
You were getting there, right? So we're step by step getting there. And I think that now it's a nice bridge to make, knowing that the UK government is more aware of crypto, understanding it better, understanding this different world. it's also easier for the government to give more awareness to the population, right? So that's the bridge for my next question. So much of the benefits of the being a cryptocurrency hub is made out of the UK, but for the average population, like normal individuals like me, Paula as an individual, what are some real world implications and benefits for their day-to-day lives?
I think for us, and this is what we've been striving to really kind of drive home, is that the UK has a really strong reputation historically of being a centre for innovation and growth. And what we've seen, particularly when the fintech explosion happened, is that a lot of businesses wanted to be in the UK. There's a whole wealth of talent, there's a whole wealth of skills here and opportunities for businesses to really grow. And I think the crypto sector really needs to be able to embrace that as well. And I think if we are truly going to become a crypto hub, then actually this needs to start looking at the realization of all of these things as well. It's about finding an environment where businesses can innovate and grow here within the UK, providing the regulatory clarity, framework and guidance, not just within the FCA, but also from a taxation viewpoint for businesses and individuals as well. But it's about looking at those opportunities for jobs and job growth. It's about looking at the whole UK economy. You know, if we're driving businesses overseas, then that's bad for the UK economy. What we want to see is economic growth. And by bringing more businesses and more opportunities here into the UK and providing those jobs and resources to be able to support them, then that's how it has a positive impact, I think, on the UK population as a whole.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing these inputs. And I think it's very much appreciated and very nice to hear from you. So for this last block of the podcast, I would say I would like to talk a little bit about the future, if you don't mind. So much of the excitement and idealism of cryptocurrency is currently on ice, right? Unfortunately. So worries are more, let's say, about inflation, energy price, and other factors of the macro economy. And it basically occupies 100% of everybody's attention at the moment, the media, everything, right? Yet, I think cryptocurrency's purpose as a technology is to provide new opportunities and solutions to problems traditionally limited by the social conventions. So, in your opinion, what socioeconomic factors does crypto have the potential to solve in the future, or maybe even now?
Yeah, it's always a really interesting question. And I think we've had some real world examples this year as well. I think we only have to look back to earlier this year when the war in Ukraine broke out and looking at what happened to Ukraine when basically their whole infrastructure and banking system collapsed. And the only opportunity a lot of people in that situation found themselves able to access funds and money was through crypto, because obviously it is decentralized. It doesn't have a reliance on a banking system or infrastructure to be in place. And it really proved a good real world use case effectively for crypto in that kind of environment. And I think if we can take that and look at, taking it outside of just a disaster zone and a disaster area and understand the real implications that has by moving financial services effectively into a decentralized world, then it really opens up the door for a lot of people who have had issues maybe with traditional banking relationships, who have been under-resourced and under-supported and underserved by the traditional banking sector. And I think if you look at that as a long-term strategy and a long-term opportunity, then it really does it opens up choice for people. We're possibly not talking about within the next 2 years, cryptocurrencies being a mainstream transactional method, but actually by providing people with options and choices, then I think this is where you really open up the opportunities there for people to be able to manage their finances in a way that's more suitable for them.
Absolutely. And your example is really nice to see, because people didn't have access to TradFi, they went to crypto and they had a solution there. So there are way more opportunities where we can use crypto and how we can leverage this technology that it's so important and it's coming to stay, I would say. What is CryptoUK perspective on bringing the space into recovery and broader adoption?
It's a really good question, I think, particularly in light of what's been happening recently. But I mean, it goes back to the very ethos of what we're trying to do at CryptoUK. We've been fighting for not only better regulatory guidance, but also better operational governance and monitoring for the sector. And I think you can't just implement regulation and say, this is it. I think there has to be really strong monitoring and controls in place once that regulation actually has been implemented as well. And I think that's an area that we really need to look at addressing, and something that we need to work really closely with the regulators on in terms of how that's implemented and managed. I think for us, we've always advocated that consumers do their homework. The only way to try and mitigate some of the risks that people are facing is around research, due diligence, and understanding. And I think that can only happen when people are better educated and informed. And, we would always say you wouldn't go and buy shares in an organization if you hadn't heard of them. It's like, don't invest in crypto if it's with an organization that you can't find any information on and you can't verify who they are and their reputation. So I think it's giving people the tools to be able to do their own due diligence and make their own risk assessment effectively as to whether or not they feel it's the right opportunity for them. But again, this is all down to education. And I think we've been reiterating to our members through the last few months and repeatedly that they have to be open and transparent. They have to be compliant. The way that they manage their funds, the way that they hold funds, it has to be something that is open to scrutiny, and it has to be something that they're doing in a fair and balanced way. We have a whole community of people who are committed to ensuring that the reputation of the crypto sector can be untarnished and can come out of this with the bad players having been put out of business, but those that are actually operating in a really ethical way and a compliant way, having the opportunities to really establish themselves and grow moving forward. So we see there's opportunities, but I think there's a lot of rebuilding work to do before we get to that point.
And I think it's nice you're talking about members being engaged in making consumers aware as well. So if you look in the case of MiCA, for instance, coming up in EU, you can already see that there's some sort of engagement of crypto platforms and consumers and their requirement to fulfill the white papers that they need to prepare, and making sure that they are transparent and clear towards consumers, so consumers know exactly what they're investing in.
Absolutely. And I think that's the critical thing. People see that other people are getting rich and people like that idea. But actually, you need to be thinking about crypto not just as a get rich quick investment tool. And if you don't have money to invest and you don't have money to lose, then you shouldn't be thinking about this as an option. But it's
the same as TradFi investment, right?
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't put your money into something that doesn't have a guaranteed return. And if it's high risk, then it's high risk for a reason, and the returns will be high. So yeah, it's that balance, but I think we are committed to making sure that our members continue the work that they're doing. And I think the very nature of the membership that we have are all in that place where nobody wants to see the consumer put at risk, but businesses want to be able to grow and operate, and they want to be able to make sure that people understand what the products and services are that they're offering and can make those informed decisions.
Yes, amazing. So thanks so much. I'm really proud that Fiat Republic is part of and a member of CryptoUK. I think it's really interesting that we can have all these points of view and also collaborate with you guys with our point of view. And I think it's amazing you're creating this unique voice for the crypto world. I think that's all very cool. I think we had a fantastic year with the podcast, and we're looking forward to a little bit extra for the next year, right? So if I can announce here, CryptoUK and Fiat Republic are partnering for the Crypto Legends Live in the beginning of 2023. So it will pretty much consist of 2 roundtables on different topics. One is payment, the other one is compliance with the different crypto legends that we have out there. So yeah, it's literally going to be an evening for Web3 and understanding how we can bridge this gap between traditional and digital economies. And do you would like to add on this as well?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to taking Crypto Legends out on the road. It's like the live experience is coming.
It's going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to see there. Thank you so much, Sue. You generally are a crypto legend, and it was really a pleasure to have you on this show. So please, guys, stay tuned for legendary tales as we bring you to those most inspiring stories from the crypto legends of Web3. Crypto Legends is to be continued.